Hey friends, I'm back with another episode about our favorite movie of all time, Salem's Lot, the 1979 miniseries. This time we have found some really interesting information because we ran across a new friend, Cindy Moore. Cindy was an extra in the movie, and yes, you can see her, and yes, she has some good information. So we're going to be talking to Cindy in this episode. Let's get to it. Well, friends, we are so honored to welcome Miss Cindy Moore. Cindy, thank you so much for hanging out with us in this episode.
You're welcome.
So, all right, we want to hear everything. We are the Salem's Lot
Minority.
nerds here.
Yeah.
So when we heard
Minority
about
nerds.
you, we saw your pictures on the Facebook page that Ian's done, and I'm telling you, those pictures were a gold mine. These are things that fans like us have not seen before. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to start from the beginning. How'd you
Okay.
hear about the filming project way back then? And how'd you get on it? How'd you end up on the set?
Well, my grandparents live in Ferndale, or used
Okay.
to live in Ferndale. And so, being a Starsky and Hutch fan, when I got to my grandparents, they're going, "Oh, they're filming a movie downtown." And I said, "Oh yeah, who's in it?" And they said, "I don't know." And they showed me a newspaper article, and I'm like, "Oh my God, David Soul!"
Yeah.
So I jumped in the car, went downtown,
Hmm.
and spent a day wandering around watching. And I managed to corner David Soul, which I will never ever do to a star again. But
Uh-oh.
I managed to corner David Soul, and I got his autograph,
Nice.
and I got a little hug, and he was really sweet. He was a nice guy.
That's
And
awesome.
so then the next day, I went down to watch more filming, and I was standing on the street corner, and they said they walked up to me and asked me if I wanted to be in the movie because I was tall enough. And I was like, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and of course, 18, it was just an amazing thing. And so they put me on the scene, and oh, what was forget his name? The cameraman Brenner, I think his name is.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Um, yeah. So he goes, "Come here, give me a kiss on the cheek." So I'm like, okay. And so then he put me on the side of the car where David Soul and Ken McMillan were arguing.
Oh,
So the
wow, you were in that
was
scene. Oh, wow.
yeah,
Oh, so cool.
yeah, it was pretty cool. And that's
So
pretty
you
much.
were one of the family members that was in the car?
Yeah, I was the one handing the suitcases to Ken McMillan, and then I got in
Oh,
the car.
wow. That's
And
Oh, you
awesome.
were actually holding the actual fan, like the fan that he gave
I'm
you.
the fangirl. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's
that's
great.
great. Yeah, because
Fantastic.
that's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie. So I'm like, I know exactly where you were because we
Yeah.
that house was one of the last sites I found in Ferndale
Yeah.
before I knew I couldn't find out where it was, and thanks to Ian's site, I was able to pinpoint it when they had the 40th anniversary event there back in
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah. That house is like really obscure. And I,
Hmm.
I guess the only reason they chose it is because of the driveway. But
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
because it goes back and then it kind of you turn out and go back on
yeah,
the road.
yeah.
And that's
And
where he
so,
does that. That's where he does that Starsky and Hutch back where he backs the Jeep up and he does that whole thing where he
and
turns it.
yeah,
And, yeah, I was like, that's a total Starsky and Hutch move.
I
yeah.
know I can remember sitting there, and he puts his hand on the door where I'm sitting, and it was just like, oh my God, I'm living through this.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool.
Great.
Well,
So
when you first came up, though, the first day you said you went to town and watched filming. Do you know what they were filming on that day?
they were filming, where the picture I have of the Jeep in front of the house by the cemetery.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, that's what they were doing. They were
Okay. Okay. Okay.
so he was driving down the road, to get there. My grandparents are in that cemetery, by the way, my great grandparents.
Oh wow, yeah. We did a pilgrimage there we were there in October and we walked through it at night.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
it
that's
was like a bunch of grown-up nerds.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, it was the first day. I didn't stay very long. After I got David Soul's autograph, I mean, that was it for me.
Yeah.
I was
Right.
going. And then the day after, well, during the filming, um, when we took off after the first shot, and the car drove off, I started laughing. I started
Oh,
laughing
that's
so hard
great.
because that's a nervous laugh. And they go, "You can't do that. We're mic'd." So we had to start all over.
Oh wow. Oh
Thanks,
wow.
Cindy.
That's
Wow.
Yeah, I think we did like, I want to say we were there for about 2 hours. So I don't
okay.
know how many shots we did. And each one, the two of them, their argument was different, or the movements were different.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Gosh, that's so interesting.
I wonder which
Yeah,
one they
by the
used.
photos, at least from what we saw, it looks like there was a lot of people in town that were either by some of the schools or just in the
Mhm.
downtown area between Francis and Ocean. Did you guys have any crowd control with anybody, or was it just a thing where somebody like maybe Toby Hooper came up and said, "Oh, okay, quiet on the set, we need to shoot now"? Like, was there any of that, or do you know if anyone was just really kind of hanging around, just staying out of shot, but also witnessing all the scenes? Like what was that
Um,
as far as the atmosphere went?
the one with Bonnie Bedelia, there was quite a few people there because it was on the main drag.
Yeah. It was
Uh,
by the school. I think that's what the
yeah,
picture looked like.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was quite a few people, but a lot of the people that were there were um, part of the film.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
They just have a lot of yeah.
We had a
Right.
lot of people, and when when they were filming when James Mason was walking in and out,
Mm-hmm.
after I had been in the scene, they let me be inside the ropes.
Oh wow, so you're on the other side of it. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so I had full range of being inside where everybody was. That was pretty, that was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool for us to hear this stuff just because we've been to the town, so many years after it.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't look anything like it used to.
it does and it doesn't. It's weird. Like you can spot where things were filmed, but of course, there's been changes to paint colors and some of the houses look a little different, but for the most part, like I mean, it's still a time capsule and you can sort of line up the shots and go, okay, I know where this
Yeah.
was. But like you can't see the house on the hill anymore, even though because there was a time, the first time I went there, you could still, even though it was that small house that they built Marston House around, you could still see the small cottage. Now you can't at all. It's just trees. It's like
Yeah.
trees block the whole road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, there was a bunch of stuff that happened about that house, but I can't remember. It was a long time ago. I can't remember what the tidbit was.
There's a lot of history about that house that we found out. We actually went up there last year. We actually talked to the owner, the current owner, and went up there and found out that it used to be a brothel that was in that house a long time ago. So
Yeah.
that was interesting.
And
But
my
yeah.
grandfather really wanted them to film a lassie there. Something
Oh
that all it was filmed was there's been what, 3 films there? I can't remember.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny the
Probably.
same. Yeah, Death in Canaan was the first movie that was shot there.
Oh,
And the location, I think it was the director's assistant got hired onto Salem's Lot and suggested Ferndale
Yeah.
and that's how they ended up doing the location scout. Then they did, of course, Outbreak and Majestic were the
Yeah.
other big ones that were shot there.
Oh, my grandfather is dead by the time Majestic was
Yeah,
made, but
2001. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
did you ever get to walk up to the house when it was there though?
No,
Mm.
no, we
Okay.
didn't.
They probably blocked it off or something.
No, I wasn't interested. I didn't.
No, you wasn't. You were David Soul was your
David Soul was
that
my
was your
main.
driving force.
And it took me 4 years, 5 years after the movie came out that I could watch it because I'm not a horror flick person.
Oh, that was gonna be my question. I was gonna say, do you like scary
Wow.
movies?
No, I didn't like scary movies. I
Yeah.
still don't watch scary movies.
Well, I watched it at 5 years old when it was on TV because my grandmother watched because they split it how they aired it. They aired the 17th, they aired part one of November 1979, then the 24th they aired part two. So my grandmother said, "Oh, Ben likes scary stuff. You should watch this tonight." And she had watched part one, so I watched part two, and it terrified me. I mean, I was petrified to do anything. I couldn't walk down to my bedroom. I couldn't walk down the hall to the bathroom. I didn't. Once I saw like the Jeffrey Lewis in the rocking chair, Mike Ryerson, I was done. And for years, I swore I'd never watch it again. And then 7 years old, I don't know what happened. It was on cable and I started watching it and I became obsessed with it. And it's been
Yeah.
my favorite movie ever since.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, couldn't go near a window.
Oh no. My bed never faced a window. I made sure of that no matter where I like nope, nope. It's like nope. Close the curtains.
Yeah.
That was
Were
funny.
were you able to run into any of the other actors?
I have like you mean like meet them, get their autograph kind of thing?
Yeah, or
Like
even
Just
just
any
see
type of
them.
interaction. I
Yeah.
mean,
oh yeah, I have
Kenneth
Bonnie
McMillan actually. Oh, nice.
I have Bonnie Bedelia's and Ken McMillan's
Oh,
and
nice.
um I think I have another one, but I can't remember. And we just I was like I said, they gave me pretty much run at the they
That's
of
just
the
unheard of. Like it's so different now. And that's what I like the whole just the idea that you were there and they're like, "Hey, you want to like that kind of that easy to be in it."
Mhm.
And in a major scene too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I told my dad when I got back. I said, I don't think they're going to be able to cut this for a commercial.
No, because I was like I thought maybe you were like a background like somebody walking, like when you see him walking towards the realtor, Crockett Realty. I said
Yeah.
maybe she's one of those people walking around or coming out of the antique store, but you're in that scene that really sets the tone for like the last act of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty exciting. I got $25, 2 hours worth of work,
That's
1979.
that's awesome. And you got to meet
Oh,
some big actors too. That's cool.
Yeah.
20, $25. My goodness. I just can't wrap my brain around that. That's so funny. Man, that's great.
That's amazing.
When they shot scenes around the town, especially if it was maybe David Soul that was doing his kind of Starsky and Hutch runs around the Jeep going through town about 50, 55 miles an hour. Were you guys actually instructed to stay inside for a certain amount of time to kind of let those scenes run through, or could you watch, or do you have any kind of recollection of those kind of scenes where if they're trying to shoot the town as if people are actually dying off and it's quiet now, where like were you guys instructed to stay inside until a certain time where they would lift that time out and then you guys could go out and go shopping or go into town?
No, I wasn't part of that, those kind of scenes. We were there
Okay.
up there for like a week.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
so we went up there and it was just right place, the right time.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Actually from the San Francisco Bay Area.
That's where I am.
Yeah.
Born and raised, haven't left. That's me.
Yeah. So that's it. The only scenes that I was there for are the ones that I have the photos of.
Okay.
Well, so you finally watched the movie years later.
Yeah.
What
She's still not a horror fan.
what was your first impression of the movie as a whole?
As a whole, I thought it was a scary movie.
Mhm.
And the scene that I was in was just like tiny. And
Mhm.
but I don't know. It was just, to me, it was just a scary movie. I've read several of Stephen King's books. I love his books,
Hmm.
but and I can read what I can't watch.
Oh, okay. So it's the visual component that you don't like.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Got it.
It's
yeah.
funny because I mean, personally, I never thought Salem's Lot as a horror movie to me as a child. It was more of a horror mystery with jump scares and certain things of that nature. I never thought of it as something that kind of became much more of a cliche later on. But it was something that, at least when I was young, I could at least follow along and kind of keep up with the pace of
Hmm.
it. 'Cause it wasn't a lot to jump on at the first hour of the movie. It was just things leading up to certain events that you could start to kind of sense that something was happening. So I was never really scared or much less terrified. I was so intrigued with the pace. I was intrigued with the soundtrack. I was
Hmm.
intrigued with the makeup and how simplistic that looked. It wasn't CGI at the time, obviously. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of mystique and intrigue for me growing up, and it never left me. And it's something that I always watch. I think Ben, out of the three of us, is truly a horror fan. He puts in over 120% on his research. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I really wish you can see the screen. His walls and his whole area is full of this memorabilia celebration, and it is so intriguing. And I wish you can see it. Maybe a couple
Well, I can see you
still
guys.
shots we
You
could
guys
add.
just can't see
You
me.
can.
Yeah, I know it's kind of
Yeah.
dark. It's just dark behind me a little bit. I mean, you can see the
Yeah, no,
lights.
I can see what you guys got on your walls. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
we
yeah.
just have this endless passion and this endless need to find things like you, basically, who have things that were packed away or just recently found. That we're not looking to make a cent. We're not looking to have trophies of anything in this. We're just
No.
here to keep this thing celebrated and acknowledged because there's not a lot of people that do. So it's such an honor and such a great joy to have someone like you on here that's given us more
Yeah,
information we never knew about.
sure
Yeah.
is.
Well, I when I first saw the Salem's Lot Facebook page, I was like shocked that there were so many people involved in in the Salem's Lot. I don't know what you call it, but
Yeah, like community is the only word.
Community fandom.
yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty and same thing with me. It's like I've been doing a YouTube channel for 14 years and I did it as a hobby. I didn't look to make it a career. I just did it because a lot of people kind of the same thing as, Sam, and I'm sure Danny can attest to, sometimes people just aren't into this stuff that might be people that we interact with on a daily basis. So I said, well, what if I could do something this way? And I'm very shy, so it was like really hard for me to do this. But I was able to sort of do it and get over it and put myself in front of the world and say, hey, here's something I like. And I did a Salem's Lot video in 2012, first video I did that year, and it blew up. And I couldn't believe how many people were saying, I love that movie. I can't believe you've been to the town. I can't believe this. I love this part. Oh, James Mason and Reggie Nelder as Barlow. I mean, it's like I was going, really? I'm like, I thought I was like on an island. I
Yeah.
really did not know because I had already tried to sell like an idea of a reunion to Ferndale, and they were like, no, we don't really have the time and, or the money to do something like that. We have so much invested in other events that we're doing in town. So I said, okay, well, no one really cares. So I'll just do something on my YouTube page. And lo and behold, I mean, I think Ferndale's sort of embraced it as much as they want to embrace it. I do think they celebrate it more than they have done in previous and since the 40th anniversary, I've seen them
Well,
embrace it a lot more than
they
they.
contacted me and asked me if they could use my photos.
Oh, really?
Really?
I did, yeah.
Oh,
For like an event or something, or like
Put on their
maybe for the.
webpage.
Oh, nice. Because they do have the
Okay.
museum there, and
right.
we went to the museum last year. There was nothing from the films that were made. I'm like going, where's like I went to this museum. I don't want to see farming equipment. I want to see carry equipment. I want to see pictures of Ferndale when Salem's Lot was shot. Talk about a museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but that was pre-earthquake too. The earthquake changed a lot of the look of Ferndale.
Oh yeah, 92, that earthquake hit,
Yeah.
I believe. And that's when I graduated high school. And I remember my history with Ferndale is very funny. And I'm actually writing a book about how Salem's Lot kind of was the catalyst that made me the fan that I am. But as a fluke, I drove through Ferndale, 14 years old, coming back from a trip from Eureka. And because I told Sam and Danny, I said I studied that movie. That's how much I knew. Like I knew the angles of the streets. And my mom saw a sign for a Victorian village and said, "Hey, let's drive through Ferndale. This sounds like a nice town on our way home." I'm driving through this town and I'm looking out the window going, "This is 1988. There was no IMDb. There was nothing. I didn't know where it was shot." And I'm looking out the window going, "Hmm,
Looks familiar.
this looks like the street where David Soul drives down and looks for Crockett Realty." And my mom, I said, "This looks like Salem's Lot." My mom was like, "No, they shot that in Maine. It's set in Maine. They shot it in Maine." I found out 10 years later that it wasn't shot in Maine, that it was shot there, and I've been obsessed ever since with that town. So it's just, again, what are the odds that I would drive through that town?
Yeah.
It's sort of like the opportunity that you had was just right place, right time. For me, it was kind of the same kind of thing in a different sense. It was just sort of like I found something that is literally 4 hours away from where I live, so I can drive there anytime I want, so it's a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, it's Ferndale and Eureka, that whole Avenue of the Giants
Hmm.
has been popular with the movie stars for a long time.
Mhm.
And my grandmother's favorite, or one of the stories that they like to tell about my grandmother was a fire truck chaser. She loved fires.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
she
that's
was
funny.
a waitress at the restaurant.
Hmm.
This guy came in, placed an order. She took his order. The volunteer fire siren went off, or bell, or whatever it was at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so she took his order, slapped it in front of him, and took off. And this is like 1920s, or around in there.
Oh, wow.
And when she came back, the guy had left her a $20 tip because she left him alone. It was Rudy Valley.
I know that name.
Yeah, you do.
I know that name.
Okay.
Google. God, why
You
is
left her alone.
mind blocked?
You left him alone. Okay.
She left him alone.
She left
You
him alone. So you did meet. I was curious if do you remember what was Kenneth McMillan like? Because he's somebody that actually I do this little series on my channel, sort of paying tribute to these actors, and a lot of them have passed away. It's sad, and as we lost David Soul at the beginning of this year, which was horrible. But what was he like? What was Bonnie Bedelia like? Do you have any memories of what they were like, the
Um,
demeanor?
Bonnie Bedelia kept to herself.
That's what I keep hearing about her.
Always
She
do
didn't.
that.
She didn't make
A lot of small
a lot of
talk.
conversation. Ken McMillan was very professional.
Okay.
He did his scenes, and that's who got after me for laughing.
Oh,
Um,
really? I wouldn't want him to get mad at me.
Wow, yeah.
He seems
but
like because he's got that New
yeah,
York
and,
demeanor, yeah, and that
yeah,
accent and everything.
Wow.
yeah. Like I said, he was very professional, and other than the scene, I really didn't interact with him either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he became an actor later in life. I think it was kind of like in his 40s, and his first big role was Serpico. And he worked at like the restaurant they go into. That was like his first big movie. And then he passed away so young, in the 80s. But I've always been fascinated by him because I've liked him in this movie. And then, of course, I've seen him in other things like Cat's Eye he was in, which was another Stephen King property. And
Yeah.
Armed and Dangerous with John Candy. He was Meg Ryan's dad in that, which I thought was always funny. But no, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that because, it's not, you don't hear about a lot of people that got to talk to these people, to these actors. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to
Oh,
hear that David Soul was nice to you.
yeah, he was nice to everybody. And like I said, after that, I would never walk up to a star and ask them for their autograph again. I mean, it was just like a constant thing, and I just felt so
Oh,
sorry for them,
Hmm.
you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I've been on a couple of I was on a Robin Williams movie, and I remember they told us specifically, don't bother the actors in between takes. And what did everybody do?
Yeah.
But the actors in between takes, but Robin Williams couldn't have been a nicer guy. Shook hands, signed things. One of the sweetest people I've ever seen interact with a mob of people that were just extras for one night. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm kind of like that too. I saw Dave Chappelle, the comedian, on Bart one time, and he was with his kids, and I knew he was playing a show in Oakland, and he was with another guy, and I kept saying if I make eye contact with him, I might just go like this, but I didn't, so I didn't go up to him, and I didn't want anybody to know because people were they were just completely oblivious to the fact that he was on the train. So I didn't want to draw attention to him. I didn't want to bother him, and I just kind of said, well, if I catch his eye, I'll say, hey, but if I don't, I'm just going to let him get off the train and go about his day. So I did. So I didn't bother him.
My husband used to work for BMW, and this guy came in to pick up his car, and he threw up all his gym bags and stuff on the counter. And my husband goes, "What do you think this is? A gym?" Or I forget what he said. He said something really obnoxious. And the guy comes running over. He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. It was Robin Williams."
Oh. He said, "Whoa, don't be frightened."
Oh my gosh.
He was a very, very nice man.
He was.
Yeah,
Terry said he felt really bad after he did that, but there's and it's so nice when David Soul was very nice and talked to people, and it's that one article where the guy was just looking for something negative to say about David Soul.
That's usually what they do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I didn't see any. He was pushed to the max, and he was always polite and nice. And
for me, it's like somebody was talking about it on the Salem's Lot page, and they were talking about that scene, the scene where he talks to Jason about what he saw when he went into the house. And I said, you don't need any visuals with that scene. He sells it so well just through his acting that you see exactly what he's saying through the way he describes it, and just the way that he goes from sort of just casual to fearful to paranoid. Like he kind of has that range through that entire scene, and it's just so relaxed in terms of just it doesn't look like there was any effort to it. It's very natural, and I just love the way that he plays that scene. So yeah.
And then when the scene that I was in, I mean, he was very convincing. You were almost scared by the time the car left the lot.
This town's falling apart, and you're running.
I always thought that he portrayed that in a way where, even as a child, he was the only actor that convinced me that vampires were real.
Yeah.
It was his body language, it was demeanor, his tone. And he could have been anybody else that, I wouldn't say overdid the part or overcompensated his role, but he did it in such a way where you felt you were convinced enough halfway through that something was off. And the way he portrayed it without making himself known or making himself the center of attention, I thought was a great balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cindy, we just want to say a sincere, heartfelt thank you for talking to us. It's always amazing when we can get more insight into what happened on set or anything Salem's Lot. We're happy to talk about it. So thank you so much for taking time just to chat with us.
Well, you're welcome. And I appreciate all your love for the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to say a very special thanks once again to Cindy for talking to us and telling us all this great information, inside information about the set of Salem's Lot. And always thankful to hang out with my buddies from the Salem's Lot Minority, Ben and Sam. But hey, till I see you on the next episode, I wish for you and all your family and friends peace and blessings. I'll see you soon.